All right.
Good morning all, and welcome to the first webinar between UDC and JAMPRO as we move to discuss our mutual partnership or explore mutual partnership through the promotion of business opportunities. Firstly, I'd like to give our participants some background on what it is and why is it that JAMPRO and UDC are working together. First of all, I'd like to say that we signed an MOU on June 17, 2020, earlier this year, which really heralded our strategic partnership to promote mutually identified programs in Jamaica, and of course, to facilitate and promote local and foreign direct divestments or investments, so to speak. So what we're looking at is leveraging this MOU to ensure that we drive economic activity in Jamaica. So I won't delve any more into that area. I'd like to get down to business. What I'd like to give you is an overview of the webinar that we have today. It's a webinar on the business opportunities. So sorry, folks, bear with me. Webinar on the business opportunities that present itself. Janelle, I'm not actually seeing the screen up. Okay, I'll continue. What we're looking to do is we're here to discuss and have a presentation on Anchor Shops, which is the closed harbor beach park in Montego Bay, and also the festival marketplace in downtown Kingston. I'd like to firstly introduce our esteemed panelists and presenters. Firstly, it's Lisa Golding, Deputy General Manager for Subsidiary Management and Revenue Generation from the UDC, the Urban Development Corporation. And secondly, we also have Mr. Norman Nair, VP of Sales and Promotion from JAMPRO. Firstly, we'll have Ms. Lisa giving us a wonderful presentation on the opportunities, the business opportunities at hand. And thereafter, we'll move over to a Q&A section where Ms. Golding will be joined with Mr. Nair and other colleagues with Lisa, other colleagues from UDC. So without any further ado, however, I'd like to get into some ground rules before we move forward. Firstly, the webinar is being recorded. All video and audio have been turned off for participants. If you have questions, please type in the Q&A box below. Your question will be answered by one of the panelists live or responded to in the box. So now that we have the ground rules out of the way, I would like now to move straight away into and hand over to Ms. Lisa Golding for her presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lisa.
Good morning, Gabriel and Norman, and good morning to our participants who've joined us this morning to talk about business opportunities that are available via the UDC, the Urban Development Corporation. And just for very brief background as well on the UDC, we are an agency of the government of Jamaica, and we manage and develop real estate on behalf of the state and for the people of Jamaica. So I know we may have some overseas persons on the call, so just to give you a very quick, very brief intro. So this morning we want to look at two particular opportunities, and I'm going to share the presentation now. We will talk about the Closed Harbor Beach Park, which is in Montego Bay, St. James, Jamaica. We will also talk about the Festival Marketplace opportunity, which is in downtown Kingston, where offices are sited, and from where we're joining you this morning. So let's start with Closed Harbor Beach Park. This property, the property owned and operated by the UDC, is under construction currently as a 16-acre active public park. It, in fact, will represent the largest public park in Jamaica and one of the most interesting concepts of a mix of a beach public space and soft recreational, including sporting activities on the 16-acre property. So it's a very innovative, it's new for Jamaica. It is also going to be a star in the Caribbean. So it's a very good opportunity for investors as well as for our locals and our visitors to have this interface in the space. This development is it's under construction, as I said. What we're looking at is a site map. If we're to think about location-wise, it sits on what is considered to be the Montego Bay Hip Strip, which carries quite a few of the EP-type hotels. It's 7 minutes away from the Kingston International Airport, and it is actually about 5 minutes away from the Montego Bay seaport. So it's location-wise, it is an interesting juxtaposition on the seaside with connectivity to ports. Just to move on, we also have started the construction of this park. It is proposed to be opened in the first quarter of 2021. And this development, most importantly, is designated as a free access public beach park to serve Western Jamaica, of course, and the rest of Jamaica, as well as our visitors to the island. We're currently under construction. We have commercial spaces that are being built out. I believe on your slide, you'll see we actually have 12 purpose-built spaces between 220 square foot and 750 square feet that are currently on the market for rental. That opportunity has closed. What we're discussing today is the opportunity to actually design, build, and operate special spaces, larger commercial type spaces on the park. The opportunity, the park itself, just to give you a very quick background, we're going to do a flyover and I'll talk you through some of the features on the park. So as you can see, we're actually looking at the park coming from the Kingston International Airport, heading towards downtown Montego Bay. The 16 acres, what we are looking at will include multi-purpose food court, commercial opportunities in the shops on the entry plaza is actually intended to be for events and of course for recreation. The property is wrapped by a jogging trail, and then there are large green spaces to allow for both events and for relaxation. A multi-purpose lawn areas, there are gazebos built in. We also have a children's play area with equipment, the multi-purpose court, and we've wrapped the property with a promenade seat wall that allows persons in the curb, you will see it along the edge, allows persons to sit, to look towards the sea, and to also have interface with the facility as it is. Now, this particular facility as well will, as I said, mentioned earlier, we will be offering 3, what we're calling anchor spaces. These are the footprints between 3,200 square feet in the smallest instance and 5,000 square feet in the largest instance for an investor to design, to build, and to operate within the confines of a lease operations on this park. So just to give you a breakout clearly of what the spaces would look like in terms of the size and the type of opportunity we're looking at. The park has been designated as light commercial for these spaces, food and beverage opportunities, retail shopping, entertainment type, soft sport type, indoor activities. We will in fact be welcoming proposals on all of those areas. Just to give you, in terms of orientation, you will have looked earlier at the flyover. So now we are looking at the park coming from the bottom of the screen going upwards from the sea into the park. The 3 locations for the 3 spaces, units 17, 18, and 19, with of course unit 18 being the larger of the spaces. What sits to the right of those spaces is actually a 132 space parking lot. So the next steps for this opportunity is that we will actually go out to public offer at the end of this year. That offer will open for about 3 months for responses. We expect the park to be operational at the end of the first quarter of 2021, and the business opportunity to become available for contracting purposes for build out in the third quarter of 21-22. That's our exciting closed harbor beach park opportunity that we are whetting your appetite with this morning. We will have additional information. Again, just a reminder from the beginning, if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A tab so we can give you some feedback if you have questions on this opportunity. We will actually now move on to talk about the festival marketplace. And for those who may want to know how you engage with us, we will speak about that at the end of the presentation. The festival marketplace opportunity is what we're calling a food bazaar, which was the name conceived when the project was designed, but of course would be renamed by an investor, the lucky investor who happens to have the opportunity to build out this facility. The food bazaar festival marketplace opportunity is actually currently, it sits on the edge of our Kingston harbor, and it is 10 purpose-built kiosks. The total net rentable floor area of which is 1,600 square foot. It's 0.78 acres of land, and it has connectivity via, possible connectivity via jetty allowed for marine movement back and forth. It also connects to the downtown walkway and promenade and directly into other major developments that UDC has done along the waterfront as part of the redevelopment of downtown Kingston. So the proximity to the Kingston Harbor actually opens up opportunities for other build out for this space, but the primary interest is to find an investor who is willing to operate a food and entertainment type facility within the space. Location-wise, just to give you a feel of where it lies, coming along Ocean Boulevard, connecting from Victoria Pier, a lot of our locals in Kingston would have been very involved in visiting Victoria Pier and using the green space. It certainly attracts a lot of traffic, especially on a weekend. Very active space. It is actually adjoining the Kingston Craft Market, and it also sits beside a very large plot of land that the UDC has made available, and the intent is to have a residential type development in place beside that property. So we want to talk about the opportunity just a little bit more. We are offering the lease and management. Now, just to be clear, this opportunity is currently live, unlike Closed Harbor, which goes live next year, late this year. This opportunity is live. It is available for submission of tenders, and it is to operate and manage this particular piece of real estate, primarily to offer food and beverage and entertainment facilities. The proponent will be required to design and finance the construction of restroom facilities to support the space. So that was a very brief introduction to two major opportunities. In particular, for a festival marketplace opportunity, which I said is live, you can visit either our website directly or Do Business Jamaica to have more information on those opportunities. Thank you, Gabriel. I think it's back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you for that extensive and detailed presentation on the two business opportunities that we have at hand. And I must say, I'm very eager to see the developments in Closed Harbor as the opportunities are actually very attractive. What we'd like to do at this point, we'd like to move directly into our Q&A. But before I go into our Q&A, I'd like to also mention that the general manager for Urban Development Corporation is with us, Ms. Heather Pinnock. She'll be joining us for the Q&A section as well. Before we move on, I would just like to remind everyone that we're speaking to the anchor shops closed harbor opportunity in Montego Bay and the festival marketplace opportunities for downtown Kingston. Now, as I mentioned before, please, if you could type all your questions, not in the chat, but in the Q&A section, which will enable us to easily streamline and answer your questions as best as possible. So as we move forward, I'd like to present the first question that we have here in the chat. Will there be security at closed harbor? If so, how will it protect those that are there enjoying the beach and facilities? Lisa, I'll hand that question over to you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Great question. In fact, because we're discussing the anchor shops, we did not speak in fulsome about the closed harbor development itself. Yes. But yes, security, both electronic and manned security for the park. The park is intended to be a 7-day-a-week operation, just so our participants are aware. And there will be security throughout both opening and closing of the park. So yes, there will be security to ensure that the users of the space are comfortable within the space.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Lisa. Here's another interesting question here. Is the focus of the park for Jamaica, and this is in relation to the anchor shops, of course, is the focus of the park for Jamaicans only, or is it targeted to reach those on cruise ships? So will there be cruise ships, will cruise ship personnel be bussed into the park when they eventually come back? I think that's a very important question.
Yeah. 2 questions already. So yes, indeed, the focus of this development, Montego Bay is a very tourist-driven city. In fact, a lot of the tourist activity along that strip, which is what we call, a lot of people call, it's now renamed the Jimmy Cliff Boulevard, but we used to call it the Montego Bay Hip Strip, sees a lot of cruise ship activity. Because of its proximity to the port, it is both walkable from the port, and we do anticipate to have a large number of cruise ship visitors. It is designed for both the enjoyment of locals and overseas guests. And we do have designated parking in the small amount of designated parking as well for tour buses, because we anticipate that we will have persons who are visiting locally and from overseas.
Thank you, thank you. This is a good segue as well in terms of the incentives that are there, the potential incentives, because it will be seen as a tourist environment. And I think this question is for VP NAR. Are there any incentives that we'll be able to access for this development?
Yeah, thanks for that, Gabriel. Good question and good morning to participants on the call. Yes, there is. Just to share the PIR, Productivity Input Relief. This provides for an exemption for custom duty in respect of certain dutiable input as prescribed for importation that will be used on the facility. You will benefit from that. Of course, there will be the opportunity for lower GCT, applicable 10% for potential investors. And then certainly the capital allowance, as at January 1, it's indicated that buildings on the that have been constructed for attractions, like the case that we're looking at here, they certainly benefit from lower tax rate, 20%, and in some instances varying between 4 to 12%. And then finally, the employment tax credit in respect of payroll taxes for the development effort. So lot of incentives from which the potential investors or interest can benefit from investing in this setup.
All right, thank you very much for that response, VP NAR. Very detailed in your answer, of course. There's a question here on, will there be any provision for water sports at the park as an attraction, a part of the whole attraction for the location?
Again, yes, Gabriel, thanks. We will in fact be offering water sports activities that itself presents another opportunity for partnership. The UDC would not be operating the water sports ourselves. We would be offering that opportunity again early next year for a water sports operator. So that will be part of our tender process. So the intention is to have the build out for water sports for the use at the property, yes.
Okay. So I will shift over just a bit now to the festival marketplace. Someone is asking if where they can get more specific information on the Kingston project. I'll direct that as JAMPRO is doing the promotional side of it. Norman, I'll direct that one over to you.
Sure, thanks. So we're going to ask that you visit our Do Business Jamaica website. That will have a lot of details in relation to the investment opportunity. But also we ask you to fill out the information. There'll be, once you have gone to the website, you'll see a form requesting details from you. And from that form, once you've filled out that form, we'll in turn provide you with additional information. So the best source of getting all information is through our Do Business Jamaica website.
Thank you very much for that, Norman. Okay, this is a very interesting question. Back over to UDC. A gentleman from London is inquiring about the operational hours of the park, and if you'll be able to, for example, to have after-hour activities for argument's sake, clubs, bars, etc. This is clearly after the COVID period has passed.
Okay, great question again. The operational hours, and we have to talk these days pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. The park, the design concept for the development, we have operational hours between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. Those hours, of course, will be influenced and start up next year, depending on where we are with our COVID realities. But certainly it is intended to run until very early morning to allow for the health and wellness, for the jogging trail, etc., and into the late afternoon to allow for outdoor dining, to allow for entertainment, outdoor cinemas, etc. So yes, it's intended to cover both.
Okay. Have some of the questions are coming in fast and furious at the moment, so bear with me now, guys. Okay, so for Montego Bay, as it relates to the construction of the space, are the investors the ones constructing the space or just leasing it? And I mean, I know that is clear, but I just want to give you the opportunity to refer to that, Lisa.
Yeah, I think that's an important clarifying question. So the current park has spaces built in, and this particular opportunity is for the investor to construct their own space within the park. It is, and that is why it is called anchor tenants, because it is intended to be an opportunity for a brand to establish, built to purpose in the space.
Yeah, and if I could just add, and that's where you'll get the benefits, the incentives that I've outlined. Once you're investor constructing, the PAYE benefits, the benefits for PIR, etc., that I outlined earlier.
There's a question here. I'm not sure if we'll be able to address it at this point, but it's asking who will be the management company for the Harbor Beach.
I can answer that.
Okay.
The UDC will operate the park at opening.
Okay, wonderful. Perfect. So, okay, there's a request for more detail, and I guess the question is around, can we unpack what entertainment might mean for the Harbor Park? And I'm assuming the question is maybe along the lines of if there's a limitation on the type of entertainment that can occur at the park.
That's an interesting question. It is a family park. I think that is contextually perhaps the first place to start.
Yes.
It is intended to be a family experience. In our visioning, before we actually did the plans for the park, what we did was we looked at how the space in Montego Bay has been used traditionally. It has always been an open space. It has anything you can think of, from the 5K walks to the car shows to the entertainment type concerts. It has traditionally been used for a wide range of activity. What is going to be the guiding principle for entertainment is that it is a family space. I think that's the easiest way to define the context of what would be allowed.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Lisa. I think that should provide sufficient details for persons going forward. A question on time. There needs some clarification for both opportunities, actually, for when these spaces will be going to tender. I know we had made mention to them before, but I think it would be good if we just provide some clarification here.
When does festival match?
So let me start with the downtown Kingston opportunity, which is live. The tender is actually open. The information memorandum for download, which is the document used to apply, is live on the website. It closes on
7th of January.
January 7th. So we do have about a month within which it will be up and available. And that document gives the guidelines for how you deposit your tender to ensure that you are part of the consideration for the opportunity. So that one is very clear cut. For the closed harbor opportunity, that tender will go live at the end of this month. It will again be available, information memorandum, on our website. We anticipate that it will close within 3 months to give allowances for the application processing. So we're looking at the end of the first quarter, but the space itself will become available at September 2021 in terms of the availability for build out. That, of course, dependent on whether or not contractually we have completed all of our arrangements with the investor.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Lisa. I recall you mentioned the parking availability for Anchor Shops Closed Harbor Park, but there's a question here to provide detail on the parking available for the festival marketplace downtown.
So the festival marketplace opportunity sits beside current operations of the UDC, Kingston Craft Market, which does have some amount of parking, but downtown also has paid parking within walking vicinity, as well as on-street parking. So there is parking available to support the development.
Okay. All right, the questions are coming in quite fast. So, interestingly, and I'm not sure if the panelists here can answer this specific question at this time. I think we may be jumping the gun. However, is there an anticipation that the park would close at around 11, 12? I guess it goes back to the whole question of entertainment again. And I guess persons want to clarify, you know, the opportunity and what are the options for entertainment within the park. I'm just putting it out there again, folks.
I mean, while the specialists consult on their answers, I mean, clearly, COVID-19, if it continues to be a feature, will certainly dictate some of the opening times, and we'll be guided by that as well. But I think beyond that, though, I turn over to the UDC team to offer a comment on potential closing times for these, shops, etc., on the skirt.
Right, so I agree with you, Norman. I think there are some constraints we have to look at, but I will say that we are prepared to examine the opportunities that come in. Evidently, I know where the question is going. I can sense that we're talking more about the much later type entertainment activities.
Yes.
That would be influencing the space. How it is designed, we will be able to look at what sort of control mechanisms we would have if we are to consider later. So we're not excluding the option.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification, Lisa. And there's a question here on the term. if you can provide some clarity on the term of the lease agreement. I'm not sure if you mentioned it earlier, but I'm repeating it here.
So that's another good question. We offer long-term leases. This would be a development lease because the investor is, of course, constructing and has to have a sufficient time for return on investment. Our long-term leases typically are between 20 and 25 years with an option to renew.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And okay, so here's an interesting question. Can we speak about the backup power facilities at closed harbor? And I think this is very important as it relates to ensuring that the service and operations are continuous. Is that something that the operators, managers of the park will be able to facilitate, or is that something that is individually managed?
So we will have backup generation for public spaces. It is important to note that the investor will need to ensure, especially based on the type of operation, it's going to be very specific to your operations, that your power generation, and that would be something that you would need to put in to ensure your operations. Common spaces would have backup generation.
I'd just like to add to that. I'm Heather Pinnock, General Manager, since I didn't speak before. I'd like to add to that, I saw a question in the Q&A about renewable energy, and just to confirm that, yes, we have included renewable energy as part of the core function, the core facilities and the powering of the core facilities. We have looked at sustainability in its entirety in the planning of the Closed Harbor Beach Park, which includes the use of solar and water management systems. So I know that was another question in there, so I'm just jumping in on the power question. Okay.
Thank you very much for that, Heather Pinnock. So this is an interesting question here, gentle folks. With regard to the anchor shops, it seems that there's a strong interest for the anchor shops, which we anticipated. Is it the financial offer that would be the predominant consideration, or will it be the thematic community contribution engagement consideration, or both? I think this is fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Well, I think the answer is included in the question, because indeed we do give consideration to both. Again, though this is a commercial offer, as the UDC and as developers of this important public green space, the social and community impact of the offerings there are also very important to us. So both are given consideration in the evaluation. And indeed, it will be detailed in the evaluation assessment guideline that will be included in the bid request.
Okay, thank you very much.
If I could just add to that, Heather, whilst you have indicated the economic impact and also the social impact, your own mentioning of renewables and so on is a clear indication of the environmental concern. So, 3 ways being considered as part of your sustainable impact, if I could just add that.
Yes, thank you for that contribution, Norman. It is actually very important to ensure that we have our sustainability goals incorporated in all our developments. And UDC, of course, is forging ahead with that as a primary mandate, right? So as we move on to the next question, and I think this question is more around considering the population and the crowd that will support the facility. Can we speak to the access to Wi-Fi at the location once the park is completed?
Okay, so the UDC has been working with our government partner, the Universal Service Fund, under their program to bring Wi-Fi to public spaces. And we have been collaborating with them and will be rolling out Wi-Fi with them as we recognize Closed Harbor will be an important public space in the city of Montego Bay. And so we will be partnering with Universal Service Fund to provide free Wi-Fi in the park. That doesn't mean that individual operators can't provide specific for their guests and their customers as well.
All right. I think it would be good for us to take maybe 2 more questions, and then we can probably wrap up in 5 minutes. I think we've addressed most of the questions here today. I'll first off and maybe this question is from somebody who maybe joined late, so I want to give them the benefit, and for everybody else as well, the benefit of actually hearing what is the current status of closed harbor now. Because we saw the presentation, but what's the current status of it now? We know that we're looking at Q3 in terms of actual construction, but what's the current status of it now?
Okay, thank you for that question. Closed harbor is in construction. We are about 88% complete with the construction of the current facility. Again, to reinforce that the anchor shops will be built. So we will provide space and access for those to be built. And those will be built during next year. The construction is near completion. We are in the process now of fitting out as well. So fitting out the offices, the spaces, and of course, getting in the first set of tenants on the shops that are already built. And we are also in the process of procuring our team, of recruiting our team. So you will see ads in the paper right now for some of our customer service and property management team members that we are recruiting. And all of those things are actively in progress. There will be some more announcements around the team, the branding, and all of that coming up very shortly. And we expect to open the park in early January, February 2021.
Okay. I'm seeing another, thank you very much for that, Ms. Pinnock. I'm seeing another question here. And just to reiterate for the participants, the security, there's concern about security at the park. Lisa, I don't know if you want to give another go as it relates to the security and the presence of security from a 24-hour perspective as opposed to regular working hours, if there's any details that you can provide at this time.
Yes, just to reiterate that security, both electronic and manned security, are part of this development. The park will be manned by security, contracted security, as well as UDC security. And we do have a relationship with the Courtesy Corps, which is also part of the tourism-related security support, which will be active in the park as well. So security is a big part of what we have put in place, both in the design and the build, as well as in the operations of the park.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we've managed to address all the questions. Most of the questions seem very specific to the opportunities. I know that VP NAR, he spoke on the incentive side of it and what are the benefits it being a tourist type event, tourist type venture. And I will be able to, and persons will be able to access the productive improved reliefs. However, at this point, I think we've answered sufficient questions enough to say we are satisfied and we can close. And I'd like to remind our participants that if they're interested in getting further information, as VP NAR mentioned earlier, to visit the dobusinessjamaica.com site. And from there, they'll be able to fill out a form and the process continues thereafter, where they'll be in touch with, they'll be contacted, and they'll be able to access further information on both opportunities, which is the Anchor Shops Closed Harbor Beach Park in Montego Bay and Festival Marketplace in downtown Kingston. Before I close out, I'd like to give, firstly, Norman Nair, VP Nair, the opportunity to speak, and then I'll hand over to UDC to give the final word until I bid all the participants adieu. Over to you, VP Nair.
Thank you, Gabriel. I just want to underscore in your opening the indication that this partnership between JAMPRO and UDC to promote the divestment of government assets is in an excellent partnership and played out by this particular session. This session offering the opportunity to properly brief potential interests around these investment opportunities on what is involved, even outside of the formal documentation that you would have normally received. And so, giving potential interest the opportunity to ask questions and provide direct feedback from both teams, I think, it speaks to how well this effort has gone ahead. That said, I continue to lay support around additional investment opportunity that you may have an interest in. The Do Business Jamaica website is always an excellent place for you to visit, to understand what are some of the available opportunities, not just with what we're doing with UDC, but certainly taking the opportunity to plug what we're doing with some of the investments in Jamaica in other sectors of the economy. And with that, I want to say thanks, Gabriel, thanks for participants joining us. Over to the UDC team.
Over to you, Lisa, before we move on, and the rest of the team.
Great. Thank you, Norman and Gabriel. And so as we wrap up, I just wanted to quickly pull back everything together. The closed harbor opportunity, the anchor shops at closed harbor. I know there are some questions about other types of opportunities, and the shops that are currently built, they are actually closed, just to make that clear. And we are in the process of evaluation for those shops. Should opportunities become available from those, we will go back out to the public. But at this point, I know I saw a question earlier, just to answer that is closed. Of course, the closed harbor opportunity, we believe, is going to be a fantastic interface for our locals, a space for relaxation, for leisure, for sports, and also that we anticipate it will be a selling point for brand Jamaica with our international guests. So that's very important. The other opportunities are coming up in the future. I can't not take this opportunity to say that. For closed harbor as well, outside of the anchor shops, the water sports opportunities, the opportunities for mobile kiosks and operations along the beach, those will come in the new year. And so through our collaboration and our partnership with JAMPRO, which is going so very well, we will have the opportunity to speak to our participants and many others in the future about that. Just a reminder that Festival Marketplace is actually live. You need to go onto our website now to be able to download that information memorandum. If you use the Do Business Jamaica link, that will also give you the connection into the download for that information memorandum, because that opportunity closes in the first week of January and it is not to be missed. We do not have a lot of time. We're moving into Christmas. And so I take the opportunity as well to wish all on the call an absolutely wonderful holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Lisa. Well said. I couldn't have said it better. And I'll just wrap up quickly by saying that these two business opportunities are in truth, very, very good opportunities, particularly how they're positioning Jamaica in Montego Bay, in downtown Kingston, as we move to ensure that we have an attractive city urban development design setup. No, I'll also wish to encourage our participants to keep abreast of the space of the JAMPRO UDC engagement as we continue to bring you more business opportunities. Visit the Do Business Jamaica website for additional information. If you need more support or more information, there's always the UDC website as well, who actually captures the core of the information. But however, JAMPRO is facilitating and helping with the promotional aspect of these opportunities. So with that said, thank you very much all. And before I go, this video, I saw questions being asked, will the presentations be available? This webinar will be available online via the JAMPRO TV, YouTube website. So please free to have a view, take your time and look through all the questions and all the presentations that were addressed today. Thank you very much for your time. Until next time, we will be having another one very shortly, so do stay tuned to this space. Thank you again, VP Nair. Thank you to the team at UDC.
Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Okay, bye.
Bring up the participants, please.